Hi friends, and welcome to Butterfly Meadows Home and Farm. I'm so glad you stopped by today. Today we are going to be making white chili. Some people call it white chicken chili. Some people call it chicken chili. I call it white chili. And this is a great recipe. And actually, I once won first place in a chili cook-off with this recipe. Everyone always loves it no matter where I make it and who I serve it to. So I think you're going to love this. Come along and I'll show you how. Ingredients needed for this recipe: 1 pound of ground chicken, 1 large onion diced, 5 to 6 large cloves of garlic minced, 1 tablespoon of oil, 1 tablespoon of cumin, a dash of celery seed, half a teaspoon of ground coriander, 2 teaspoons of oregano, red pepper or cayenne pepper to your taste, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 3 cans of chicken broth, 3 cans of white navy beans, 1 8-ounce bar of cream cheese, 2 cups of sour cream, a can of green chilies, salt and pepper to taste. So the first thing we want to do is peel and dice our onion. And I am not a professionally trained chef, and I'm sure there is a technique to mincing garlic and dicing onions, but I'm not going to let that stop me from cooking a good meal, wholesome meal for my family. So don't ever feel like that you can't do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once the food is cooked, as long as you use the right ingredients and you cook it for the right amount of time, it's going to taste delicious. So don't be intimidated by what maybe you don't know, because that's just going to keep you from cooking delicious food. Now we're going to go over to the stove and we're going to saute these in a little bit of oil, and then we will add our ground chicken. Okay, we're going to turn our heat to high. We're going to put in about a tablespoon of oil, and we're going to add our diced onion, and we're going to saute this until they get soft. And whenever you're sauteing garlic and onions, always add your garlic closer to the end when the onions would be done, because garlic cooks a lot faster than onions do. And you'll notice I'm sauteing these in a pot instead of a frying pan. That way I save on dishes, because I'm going to be adding everything to this pot, and it will fry just like a frying pan would. It just has higher sides, that's all. And a little tip, something I like to do when I'm sauteing onions or peppers, is I add a little water, and it helps the onions to soften, and the water will boil off, so it will go away. It will boil off into steam, and it will help the onions to cook. I don't know who said it, but I once heard that if you can't cook really well and you're trying to impress someone, especially your man, just add lots of garlic to whatever you're cooking, and he'll just taste mostly the garlic, and he'll think you're a wonderful cook. See how all of that water is gone? It's also a way to keep from having to use so much oil. And add our garlic. And we're going to let this go for a couple of more minutes. Now I'm going to turn this off and get ready to add our ground chicken. Okay, now we're getting ready to add our ground chicken to our onions and our garlic. And we're going to crumble and brown this chicken until it's no longer pink. But we don't have to worry about it being completely done, because we're going to add some more ingredients and let this simmer in just a moment. Now this chicken is very lean, and I don't want to add more oil because I don't want greasy chili. So here's another tip. I'm just going to add a little water, and that's probably about 1/4 of a cup or less. And once again, that will cook off, and it will not be in there once it cooks away, but it will keep our chicken from sticking and help it cook. Also helps you get it crumbled up nice and small. And I have my heat on high, and I'm just going to let this cook, making sure I have all the chicken crumbled. Chicken is ready, and we're going to go ahead and start adding our next ingredients. So here on this plate I have one tablespoon of cumin, a dash of celery seed, a 1/2 teaspoon of coriander, I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I have 2 teaspoons of oregano. And we're going to go ahead and add our spices to our mixture. And wow, this smells amazing. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I think I could eat just this. Now we're going to add 3 cups of chicken broth. Now we're going to put on a lid. We're going to turn our heat down to low, and we're going to let this simmer for 20 minutes. And when you're making soups and stews and chilies, the simmering part is very important. Don't skip that step, because this is where all the flavor comes from. If you just dump everything in and then serve it up and you didn't let it simmer, it's not going to taste nearly as good as it will if you let it simmer. Okay, so our chili has been simmering for 20 minutes, and it's now time to add our navy beans. And I'm going to show you another little tip. So you want chili to be kind of thick. And so what we're going to do, this is approximately 3 cans of navy beans. And I cooked these from dry beans, so it may not be exact, but you want at least 3 cans of white navy beans. And I'm going to take out a couple of spoons, which probably about a cup or more of the beans. And I'm going to take a fork, and we're just going to mash them up. And what this is going to do, this is going to thicken our chili. And we don't have to add anything extra to thicken it. So you can kind of see that. I've just kind of mashed the beans up. Just going to add them back in. And we're going to add this. Now we're going to add this to our mix that we have in the pot on the stove. Now we're ready to add our beans to our chicken. And now it's time we're going to add our green chilies. And I'm using 1 can of mild green chilies. And if you like it hotter, you can use 2 cans, and you can also buy the hotter chilies. It's completely up to you how hot you want it. Another great thing about this is we've done everything in one pot, so we didn't have a bunch of pots to wash. Now, we're going to let this simmer. I'm just going to turn my heat up to kind of medium-low, and we're just going to let this simmer while we prepare our cream cheese and our sour cream. Now, as for preparing our cream cheese to go into our chili, I have dipped off a couple of ladles of just the broth out of the chili into this bowl. And you want to have your cream cheese at room temperature. And if it's not at room temperature, you can pop it in the microwave. You know, put it in a microwave safe bowl and pop it in the microwave just for, you know, about 30 seconds or however long it might take in your microwave. Each microwave is different. And soften it. But you do want it to be soft. And we're going to add the cream cheese to this broth. Then we're going to use our whisk to mix it together. So what we don't want is clumps and lumps. And just be patient and go slow until your cream cheese begins to melt, and mix it together. So that's pretty well mixed. Once you have your cream cheese and your broth mixed together, then you want to add your sour cream. And you want 2 cups of sour cream. We're going to add in our sour cream and whisk it together. So now it's nice and creamy, nice and smooth. Now when you add this to your chili, you want to make sure the heat is off and add it in, because if it's boiling, your sour cream and cream cheese will kind of curdle up and lump up. But if it's not boiling, you should be able to mix it in nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my pot over here so you can see. And so now we're just going to mix in our sour cream cheese mixture. And I just put a little bit in it at first to make sure it wasn't going to curdle, and that mixed in very well. So I'm going to put the rest in. Just slowly stir it while it melts and incorporates. Now, here's another couple of tips for this chili, since it does have sour cream and cream cheese in it. So we are going to actually be serving this tomorrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to refrigerate it overnight. Then in the morning, I will warm it up on the stove slowly. And then I'll put it into my crock pot and put my crock pot on warm to keep it warm. And that way it will be hot and ready for everyone to eat. But once again, you do not want to boil it once you have your sour cream and your cream cheese in the pot. So you just don't want to bring it to a bubbling boil. But you can definitely heat it in the microwave or heat it on the stove with no problem. And this is a great make-ahead dish. It keeps really well in the refrigerator, and it heats up really nicely. So let's put some in a bowl and give it a try. Oh, one more thing. We haven't added our salt yet. So you can add salt and pepper to taste. So I'm going to give it a taste. I'm sure it's going to need salt because my beans did not have any salt in them. And we will add some salt. And I'm going to use white pepper to keep the chili as white as possible. Of course, the oregano and chilies are green, but everything else is white. So I'm going to use white pepper and salt, and we'll add that in just a moment. Let me taste it and see how much it needs. Okay, so I gave this a taste, and it is not spicy at all. So I am going to add a half of a teaspoon of ground white pepper. And this pepper it's pretty hot. I've used it before and it's a pretty hot pepper. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon. Heaped up, maybe a little more. And that should probably add as much spice as I want. And it doesn't have any salt in it. So I'm not going to add quite a teaspoon. I'm going to add, actually I think I'll do a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir this up and then I will taste it to make sure I have enough salt. And at this point you could add another can of green chilies if you wanted to make it hotter. You could add cayenne pepper. You could add Texas Pete or any other hot sauce. If you like it hot, add whatever pepper you want. And of course you can use black pepper, but I didn't want to use black pepper. So we're just going to add one more can of green chilies, and once again these are the mild. If you're using the hotter ones, you might not need 2 cans unless you just really like a lot of heat. It's nice and thick, and it will probably get just a little bit thicker as it warms up the second time. And I really love to make this dish the day before that I'm going to serve it, because to me it just makes it taste so much better as the flavors just mix together as they sit overnight, and it just makes it taste so good. I certainly hope you will give this dish a try. Thank you so much for stopping by today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you try this dish, leave a comment below and let me know how you liked it. And if you're enjoying these videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little notification bell so you won't miss any. I put out cooking videos, as well as some farm videos, and every now and then I put out a devotional video. God bless. Bye-bye.